Army officials agreed to a possible name change for places like Fort Hood, those named after Confederate military commanders. 25 News reporter Joel Lopez joins us with how the community feels about it. Joel?
Todd, yesterday President Trump tweeted saying he wouldn't even consider renaming these bases. But as the Black Lives Matter movement calls for equality, it's reignited the debate. Talks of renaming military bases like Fort Hood have become a decisive issue.
The way it's going now, and everybody constantly keep protesting and going on, I think it would be best to go ahead and change it.
Shirley Sims is the widow of a Purple Heart recipient and feels the name Fort Hood is hanging on to a dark part of American history.
I looked at it as the name they gave it, which was, Confederate, slavery. And it's just a reminder if you think about it.
But veterans like Thomas Herlock say, while it may bear the name of Confederate General John Bell Hood, Herlock says to people in Fort Hood, it's just a name.
We've come so far from being slave owners. We're no longer slave owners.
And history shouldn't be forgotten.
And we're not erasing history. General Hood's going to be in the history books forever.
Rudy Rosales, the Texas director for the civil rights group LULAC, has been pushing to rename Fort Hood.
In this time that we're going through right now, I think that we need to recognize that a lot of these Confederate soldiers and generals and leaders are being honored, and it's being very disrespectful in a lot of ways to people in the African American community and as well as the Latino community.
The group is suggesting the base be renamed after Sergeant Roy Benavidez, a Texas Armed Forces officer and Medal of Heart recipient, who he says better represents today's community.
The name of Mr. Hood, or I'm sorry, the General Hood, is my understanding was a Confederate general, wasn't from Texas. And in this time of, I call it enlightenment, in which we're looking at, who we're honoring, right? And we're not erasing history. General Hood's going to be in the history books forever. It's a matter of just renaming and who we choose to honor.
Right now, there are over a dozen military bases named after Confederate commanders such as John Bell Hood. So far, there's no decision on whether they'll be renamed or to which name. Joel Lopez, 25 News, Waco.
Now, other military branches have already taken action to remove Confederate monuments and flags from their properties, including the U.S. Navy and also the Marines.